Welcome to Inspire Tech Education. In today's session, we are going to start one of the most important topics in the database world, that is SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. This is the language that helps us to talk to database. It is a it is simple, powerful, and it is used everywhere from small apps to big companies like Amazon or Google. So, by the end of this video, you will know what SQL is, why we use it, and what the five main parts of SQL are. So, what exactly is SQL? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. In simple words, it is a special language used to communicate with relational databases. Think of database like a big cupboard where all your data is stored in boxes like names, emails, prices, or anything. If you want something from that cupboard, you don't just open it randomly. You ask for it properly. That's what SQL does. It helps you ask questions and give commands to the database. For example, hey database, show me all customers who live in Delhi. That's a SQL query. User will communicate with database by using SQL with the help of SQL query. So user will write SQL query and this query can understand by database, that is relational database. The best part is that SQL looks almost like, so it is easy to learn, it is easy to understand. Now, why do we need SQL? Every website or app you use like Instagram, Flipkart or YouTube stores information in a database. When you log in or search or upload something, SQL commands run behind the scenes. It will run in backhand. For example, when you log in, SQL checks your username and password. When you post something, SQL saves it in the database. When you view your post, SQL fetches them for you. So basically, SQL is the bridge between the user and the data stored in the database. Without SQL, the app would not know how to read or write data properly. So SQL tells the database what to do. Now, here is something important. SQL is a standard language. So it is not owned by any single company. The rules and guidelines for SQL are set in ANSI, which means American National Standards Institute. That's why almost all the databases like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, and IBM DB2 understand SQL. They might have some extra features, but the basic SQL is the same everywhere. Okay, you can learn once and use it anywhere. So it work across all the database systems. You don't need to start over each time. That's what makes it so powerful and universal. So SQL is mainly used with something called relational database. Now, don't worry, that sounds complicated, but it's really simple. A relational database stores data in tables, just like Excel sheets. Each table has rows and columns. For example, it is a student table. It might have columns ID, name, mark. Each student record will be one row. And the cool part is this table can be connected to each other using relationship. Like a student table and course table can be linked together by student ID. That's why we call it a relational database because data is related here. Now let's talk about the structure of SQL. SQL is a big language. So to make it easy, we divide it into five smaller parts, each one having a special job like DDL, DML, DQL, DCL, and TCL. DDL, Data Definition Language. It is for creating or changing tables. And DML, data manipulation language. This is about data, inserting, updating, deleting rows, and DQL, data query language. This is about queries, fetching data from tables. DCL, data control language. This is about control, managing permissions. Okay. And TCL, transaction control language. This is about transactions, grouping commands together safely. So whenever you write an SQL command, it belongs to one of these categories. So let's start with the first one, DDL, that is data definition language. This part of SQL is used to create or change the structure of your database, like making a new table, changing a column, or deleting a table. Some common DDL commands are create to make a new table, alter to change the structure, like adding or removing a column, drop to permanently delete a table, truncate to delete all the data inside a table but keep the structure, rename to rename a table. Okay, so detail is like designing the blueprint of your database. It builds the foundation. So it builds the tables. Next up is DML, which stands for data manipulation language. So now that we have table and we want to fill them with data and make changes, right? That is what DML is for. It helps us to insert, update, and delete data in tables. Some common commands are insert, update, and delete. So DML help us to work with the actual data inside our tables. The next one is DQL, which means data query language. And this one is super important because it's how we fetch data from the database. The main command is select. So DQL is like asking questions. You query the database and get exactly the information you need. Okay, you will search and retrieve. Now we move to DCL or data control language. This part is about permissions, deciding who can see or change data. In big organizations, not everyone should be able to edit or delete data. So we use grant and revoke command. Grant is for to give permissions. Revoke is for to take permission back. Okay, so DCL help us to keep our data safe and secure. Finally, we have TCL, Transaction Control Language. This one help us to control transactions, which means a group of SQL commands that must run together. Okay, so let's say we are transferring money between two accounts. We subtract from one and add to another, right? If one of these steps fails, we don't want the other one to go through, right? TCL help with that. Commands we use in TCL is commit, it save all the changes permanently, roll back, it undo the changes if something goes wrong, save point, it create checkpoints inside a transaction. So TCL makes sure that our data stays accurate and consistent. Either everything happens or nothing happens. Okay. All right. Let's quickly recap everything what we learned so far. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It is used to communicate with relational databases to create, read, update, and delete it. It is a standard language approved by ANSI and works on almost every database. It is divided into five parts, that is DDL, DML, DQL, DCL, and TCL. That's the foundation of SQL, simple and powerful. Okay. Thanks a lot for watching or attending the session. Now that you understand what SQL is and what its parts are, we will start learning each part one by one in detail. In the next video, we will focus on these five sublanguages where we will actually create tables and modify structures step by step. If you found this video helpful, like the video subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends who are learning databases. Let's keep learning SQL. Thank you.